Hello and welcome to a brand new Unsourced Radio. I'm here joined again by Brian Van Josen, that Johnson, that we I just had on the other day for our Wicked discussion, our Wicked roundtable. And we're doing another one specifically for Nosferatu by Robert Eggers, which is like the I think the third biggest remake of Nosferatu, or the third retelling of Nosferatu, but there's been a bunch throughout the years, including another one from 2024. It's not the only Nosferatu remake of 2024, if you believe that. Um, and it might not be the best one. I'll get into that later when we talk about the film itself. But it's maybe a movie that I've been really anticipating, and I know that you've mentioned that you've really anticipating it as well. So let's get started. Introduce yourself, and then also just if you want to get into like how you first came across Nosferatu, like where you're coming from. Nosferatu, are you a new fan, old fan? Just give us a little bit more of a little background with you. What's going on?
Okay, well, yeah, I would say I first came across Nosferatu a long time. My dad is a was like a huge movie buff, and he introduced me to all the old movies. Like, listen, here's a movie that you it has no dialogue. I'm like, no dialogue. That's strange. And then he plays it for me, and I was, entranced from beginning to end. It's probably one of the craziest movies I've ever seen. I just never, up until that time, I had never seen anything like it, and I needed to have more of it. So that's what got me into silent movies like Charlie Chaplin and Metropolis and all kinds of other stuff. Well, then I saw the Klaus Kinski. Like it's probably about 10 years ago. I saw the damn it, who was the director? I keep forgetting. Uh, the '70s Klaus Kinski version, and I really loved that movie when I saw it. But since I've had trouble going back to it, and I've definitely never seen the sequel, and I never will, as there is an actual factual sexual assault on camera in that movie that Klaus Kinski had performed on an actress, and I can't. And well, eventually, so I just stuck to the silent movie, and I've seen it several times, probably like 100 bajillion times since then. It's a very short, breezy watch, and so every year, probably around Halloween, I go back and I watch it. But like somewhere around 2015, I think that was it. I think it was 2015. I saw this movie in theaters called the Witch or the Witch, and I found out that Robert Eggers, the director, was a huge fan of Nosferatu. And after I'd seen it, I was thinking, wow, that guy should do a Nosferatu remake. That'd be dope. But I thought, never happened. And then eventually he did. He came out and said, "Yeah, I want to do it." And I thought, "Oh, that's going to be cool. I can't wait till to see that happen." And as we all know, it didn't happen. And he went on to make The Lighthouse, which I loved, The Northman, which I also loved, and eventually, now he finally made his version of Nosferatu, which I definitely love. I think this is probably my favorite version of Nosferatu, if you can believe it.
Of the two that you've seen, it's your favorite version. That's incredible. No, I'm just
Yeah.
joking. This
No,
looks really good. You know,
I've
you
seen the
said
three versions.
which one were you? Oh, I thought you said you didn't watch the classic one. No, you said you didn't watch
No,
the.
no, I didn't watch the sequel,
Yeah.
Nosferatu in Venice.
All right. Yes, of course. All right. But yeah, no. Anything else?
Uh, no, I just I want you to guess how many times I've seen Nosferatu in
This
theaters.
one. This
The
one or
new
the
one.
old one? The new one? I don't know, like
Uh,
five.
I've seen it 6 times.
No, that's close. That's close.
I, I believe I am the Mac of of Nosferatu.
I, you
Hey,
know,
look, if that
I would
if
have as well, but at this point, I'm like, when I heard about the extended director's cut, I'm like, you know what? I want to wait to that. I want to just,
um
I want to go on fresh for that.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I haven't seen it since I heard about that. But I want. Do you think, like people started talking about the director's cut, and I saw this somebody saying it could be the 3 hour screen tested version. I said it's not going to be 3 hours. There's no way there is 3 hours cut from that movie. I mean, well, like probably 45 minutes cut from that movie. I don't think so.
I can believe it.
Maybe I would accept. Like I'm going to guess, and you can write or hold this against me. Um, but I believe that the extended cut will be 7 extra minutes
No,
at the most.
I think it's going to be longer. But I think that it's going to be cumulatively like 40 minutes longer, but it's going to be like additional like breather shots, beats
Actually, yeah. No, I can
because
see that because there was a few shots, especially at the beginning of the movie, where I was like,
it could
that
have
could
been
have held a little longer.
exactly like it's one of the most infamous ones is that in the trailers you have that shot of I'm gonna use the Dracula names all the time here.
Go for
Right?
it.
So when Doom Dafoe as as Van Helsing, right? He's in front of Dracula's tomb, right? And he's like cackling with his arms outstretched. That's not in the movie. Like the last time we see him, like he's like in front from his back facing the camera, looking at the casket, pouring the gasoline as everything else kind of rages, the fire rages around him. But the
Right.
front shot of him like arms outstretched, cackling, that's not in the movie. I'm pretty sure that
And
things like that is going to be like in the director's cut. We're like, oh, we're going to see like a little
and
bit
I
longer, a little
and
bit longer.
I did read the script,
Mm.
and there was the part where Thomas wakes up. Here's where I think they'll expand. When just a few things that I popped in, maybe Thomas's journey. I feel like maybe there's like a few shots they could have held a little longer on that one. And there was a part where he wakes up in this monastery with a bunch of nuns, and when he jumps out of bed and he's flexing, he's like he's after Orlok, and then it immediately cuts to a different scene. I can tell it's a different scene because he's got a blanket wrapped around him, and there's a nun like talking to him, and he's translating him. And in the original screenplay, I believe it starts with him in the room by a fire, and then the nun comes in with him, and he's sort of like in this sweaty religious frenzy, and they talk. So I think that'll be expanded. And there was a scene with Ellen and Anna in bed, and she's saying like God is with us, Lenny, and gives her a kiss, and he says thank you for loving me. That scene, there was a little more of that in which she says, don't close your eyes and don't go to sleep before I do, please. And she's like, I shan't. And then, they just watches her sleep for a little bit. And there was, yeah, I know for sure there is a shot in which Orlok is like floating in this void, and Ellen is looking out at the window, and like Orlok just turns around, like some magical shit. And the last scene with Ellen and Orlok, when the camera is turning around the room, is sort of a jump cut. And I'm like, all right, so that's going to be in the extended cut. They're going to hold on that, of course. So accumulation is going to happen. Uh, I just don't see 45 minutes of it happening though. But yeah, I'm not the one who edited this friggin' movie, so I wouldn't know.
I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. Anyway, so that's that. And, and for my own part, I've always loved Dracula the novel. I've always loved it. Like, I first read it when I was like 7 or 8. I got like a copy from like a raffle at the library. And okay, cool. So I read it and I fell in love with it right there. I love the style. I love the adventurous tone. I love the creepiness. I think some of that writing is like one of the first things that like, oh wow, horror is like really really cool. And like I'd heard of Dracula before then. Obviously, it's a big pop cultural thing. Who hasn't heard of Dracula? But that's the first time I read the book, and like this book is fantastic. Became one of my favorite novels since then. And in terms of film, like I never really thought it. None of the movies do a good job. None of the self-styled Dracula movies I think would be like in my top Dracula films. Like I really wouldn't name any of them honestly. But then a couple of years ago, I watched Nosferatu for the first time. I always heard about it, and obviously it's also really, really famous. But I know at one point I'm like, you know what? Let me just actually sit down and watch this, and I fell in love with it. I think Nosferatu, the original, is probably the best Dracula movie ever made. It's so good. It's a great condensation, bar for bar, proportionally, relatively. Like this is obviously a shorter, truncated version. It has to fit like the time constraints of the period of the era it was made. It's silent. You have to kind of be brief, brusque about it. I think it hits everything it needs to. I think it's really great. Murnau it does an amazing job. All the actors in that do an amazing job. And so, I fell in love with that. And, I like the Herzog version. The Herzog version does a really fun job. But I just don't think it captures just that sort of, mm, just that eerie magnificence of the Murnau version. And,
Right.
and then, of course, you have Shadow of the Vampire, which I love. I count that as like a Nosferatu movie because, fuck it, it is. Shadow of the
It
Vampire.
has probably the best Orlok, honestly. Like
I don't
at least
know.
the most human Orlok to me.
Most human Orlok, I think so. I agree, but I think it's a really fun film, and it's fantastic as well. So I think this is really good. I think I like that it has an afterlife against it. Um, and when I heard Eggers, I love Eggers. I love The Witch. I love Lighthouse. I love Northman. And when I heard that Eggers wanted to do Nosferatu, I started following that like a hawk. Every couple of months, be like, Nosferatu. Okay,
Me too.
Nosferatu. It's like what's like what's going on? Like it kept getting delayed. Actors kept leaving. Kept getting pushed back. They kept the funding kept getting pulled. Like this is never gonna
Right.
happen.
I'm
And
slapping my wrist, going, "You got me jonesing like a junkie over here. Where's my Nosferatu?"
exactly. And I feel like after watching something like The Northman and Lighthouse, like this is the perfect guy for this kind of thing. And it finally, yeah, it finally gets made. It finally starts being production. We finally get a great, rotary of actors in it. Like this is sounding amazing. And then the movie comes out, and it's my initial thoughts of the film. I like it. I think it's the best Dracula movie of all time, but I think it's like the weakest Nosferatu. I think it is. I just,
Uh,
I feel, again, just some initial thoughts. I think that a lot of what the movie makes it work for me is that it brings in a lot of what made the novel work for me. Brings a lot of the Dracula stuff in. And I think that it really does elaborate more on what makes the characters interesting in the novel Dracula. But the thing is, right, Nosferatu as like its own kind of thing has kind of grown past that a little bit, and so like near like the the 60% point, like the last act, it feels like it just like a crossroads. We're gonna go full Dracula, or we need to go on to Nosferatu. But at that point, I'm like going into the Nosferatu territory, especially with the ending and how iconic the ending of the original film is, and they keep trying to replicate that. And it's the iconic kind of thing you have to do. It felt like it was railroaded a little bit. I feel like at this point you're so much Dracula style that it just doesn't feel natural. It felt kind of forced, and it really did lessen it for me. And I feel like it's another thing where I don't know. I just couldn't get into it as much as I wish. I think it's a fantastic film. I definitely think it is the best Dracula movie. I think bar none, it's the best Dracula movie. It's fantastic. I think it captures
it,
the gothic horror and eeriness of reading the novel. I started reading the novel again, bits and pieces, my favorite bits, like a week ago or so after watching the film. And like this is exactly like the type of feeling I got watching the film. Like he replicated that tone perfectly.
mhm.
But then as a Nosferatu, like it's not as inventive, or it's not as like immediately inventive as like the Burnout film. It's not as like cohesive as like the Herzog film, and it's I don't know. I feel like it should have it should have veered more into Dracula. So I feel like it does try to do two things at once,
I,
and it does hinder it a little bit, in my opinion.
I, f- I feel like it is probably my favorite. No, my second favorite version of Nosferatu out of the three that I've seen. I don't like the Herzog, not the Herzog version. No, no, Herzog. Yeah, I don't like the Herzog version very much. I just don't. I don't like Klaus Kinski as a person, and it like and, yeah, I know that that's like not a thing that I should be holding it against the movie itself, but like I just can't. I can't do it. But I do love the original silent film. That is probably my favorite version of Nosferatu, and honestly, it's probably tie with the new one for me. Like if somebody held a gun to my head and said you got to pick one, I'd say tell my family I love them. Honestly, I do like, and this is a vibe that I get from this adaptation of Dracula that I don't get from the others, which is what holds most adaptations back for me, is that they can't accept that they're a movie. And like, how do I put this? Okay. There's a perfect example is that Dune Part 1 is the worst Dune adaptation because it tries to stick too close to the book and it does not work.
No, that's
And
okay. I'll agree with you halfway, but I'll let you finish. But in Doom Part One is the worst in adaptation because it is just a lazy abridgment of the first act.
yeah,
It's not trying to be too faithful. If it was faithful, it would actually be faithful. No, it's like reading it's like reading a junior
okay,
middle school a novelization.
no.
It's
Yeah, I got it.
lazy.
Like
It's
it's.
incompetent. It's ridiculous. I hate it. But it's
I
not
guess.
just
I
because
guess that's what I mean. I guess that's what I meant to
it's
say
lazy.
is that this happens, then this happens, then this happens, and I go, okay, well, none of this is flowing all that well. Everything seems so patchworked, and like, and then. I mean, I hate Matt Stone and Trey Park, but it feels like nothing is flowing well because you're trying to truncate a lot of stuff. I mean, honestly, it would have been better if you could cut a few characters because when like Toofer Howard doesn't show up in the second part, and I felt nothing because the character was a nothing in the first book. I mean, in the first movie. In the book, he's a character. He's great, but in the first movie, he's there. Piter may have not as well have been there for all the impact he left, and I don't know. Honestly, Duncan Idaho might as well have not have been there for all the impact he left. I would have put his character, wrapped his character up into Gurney, and just have Gurney die in part two because when Idaho, I don't know if they're going to adapt that part. If Idaho comes back, then
I hope
I'm
they
not going to
don't.
feel much.
I hope they don't because, like, and you're right. Like, it's what makes part two. I'm going way off topic. Let's jump in.
Okay, we're
What
off
makes
topic already.
yeah? What makes part two work so much better to me because it's Denis. I don't know how to spell. I don't say his last name. It's
Denis
Denis.
Villeneuve.
I'm not going to attempt that. But what Denis is trying to do,
Yeah,
all right, is
it's
like
fan fiction, and I love it.
exactly like he's doing his own ideas with it. I would like a faithful version of the novel, but if he can't
But
do
that's got
that,
to be like a
okay, yes,
10-hour.
I get. Why are you interrupting me? All right, so I would like if I fill out a version of the novel, but if like he can't do that, then I would like to see his ideas, and his ideas are really fun, and so that's
Right.
great. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like the first Dune movie the best one because it's one. It feels like you gave a bunch of aliens some camera equipment and you told them, "Okay, go make a movie," and that's what it's. It's great. It's a very alien, fun, crazy ass movie, and I love it. Okay, back on subject. I'm getting off. But yeah, that's what I like about Nosferatu is that it's really fan fictiony. It's in a good way. That sounds derogatory, but in a good way. It takes you know certain aspects of the novel of the novel and turns it into a fairy tale, a brisk, I want to say abridged, but like it simplifies a lot of stuff and it makes it its own thing. And I get what you're saying when you say that it feels like, well, let's just say the new one feels more part one of Dune than it does part two because yeah, it does try to attempt both. And yeah, I can see people not jiving with that. You want the one thing or you want the more of the other thing or more of the. You either want it to be more Nosferatu or more Dracula. what I'm saying. So yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, no, I feel like you're definitely on point. Like this is a very fan fictiony film, but you're right. It's not bad. I think sometimes it can be a bad thing when you're laying that cloud, like your vision. Like instead of doing your vision, you're just slavishly trying to do what came before.
Hmm.
But this is like he's inspired by coming before, but he's bringing like, oh, but like wouldn't that be really cool? That's what Denny did with Dune Part Two. That's what Eggers
Yeah,
is doing with Nosferatu. It's going to like the parts of the movie and the novel that were like, you know what? It would have been really cool if instead this kind of thing happened, you know? Or like, would be really cool if they had had the license and they could have done this stuff from the novel. And I feel like that really makes this pop a lot more. I think it does give it like, and I really, again, I really enjoyed the film. I think one of my favorite films of the year. It's just not my favorite Eggers movie. It's not my favorite Nosferatu, but it's definitely my
it,
favorite movie of the year. And because he's so, that's how talented Eggers is. Like, this is a film that, it would be the best of anyone else's career, honestly.
yeah,
There's like production in terms of style, in terms of mood, in terms of atmosphere, in terms of performances. It is fantastic. It really is. And it's just like it's again, it's that fairy tale esque quality. It feels like old school gothic horror, gothic fairy tale. Like it really does bleed into that, and so that's why it's so funny that like it's like it's very Dracula. Exactly. That's what Dracula is for people. That's what Dracula is the iconic hallmark story of. So it's really funny that it's but Nosferatu. So instead it's like in Germany, but then you have all the characters like being very British. Like it's
yeah.
very
That's because you're not going to get $50 million to make a movie unless it's in English, which sucks. But
yeah,
you
but
know,
like, but I like that because it's like it's daring you or like to
no,
like to and I'm not saying like I'm not saying that in a bad way, but like it's like well yes it's Nosferatu. Nosferatu is in German is Germany, but like it's like it's Dracula, so it's very British, and I like that. I think that works to its benefit. It gives that this unique flavor. Like here's German, all the signs are in German, everything's in German, but then you
it's
have
just
like this
everybody's
very
very British.
yeah, you have this very British story at the heart of it, and I love it.
Yeah. Um, there was a few criticisms that I wanted to. Okay, this is serious. I am 100% serious. I had this exchange on Twitter, and they doubled down. They actually meant this, but when somebody was talking about the director's cut, I was talking about, oh, I'm excited for the director's cut, and somebody actually factually said to me, I see this a lot too. Is uh, a director an extended cut? Whew, you could have cut 45 minutes from this movie and it would have been better. 45 minutes? Where? Where every time you by the way, every time you hear that criticism, it's for like a long movie. But this movie's like 2 hours and 12 minutes. It's I mean, like it's long, I suppose, but I mean, I've seen 3 hour movies that I thought the pace was also quite brisk, honestly. I would have liked it if it was a little slower. But I mean, 45 minutes. I asked him, he says, do you really mean that? 45 minutes? And he says, yes, 100% unironically. And I go, where? Where are you going to cut 45 minutes from this movie that doesn't drastically alter the story? Or you'd have to make large sweeping changes to the movie. I mean, I've seen that criticism all over the place, and I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Um, it just shows that most people don't know how stories work. I've seen that with criticisms for Killers of the Flower Moons, Oppenheimer, The Irishman. Every time it's like you could cut 20 minutes, you could cut 30 minutes, you could cut 40 minutes. Every time somebody says this, always ask them to clarify what scene are you going to cut? What part of the story are you going to cut? Because it would drastically change the movie usually. Because if every scene in a movie is necessary and every character is necessary to, the movie, I'd say, it's done a good job. It's as long as it needs to be. But I don't know. That's just nuts to me. Um, yeah, so I guess what I wanted to talk about too was just how much I like the vibe that Eggers brings to his movies, the research, the camera work, all the references to old cinema, and just Europeans cinema. It's just something I don't see from. any other director, maybe like old uh, Ridley Scott. Honestly, that's probably the only person I can think of right now off the top of my head in terms of American directors. Um, what do you? Uh,
I mean, I like it. I think that, well, not necessarily. I don't. I'm not really. I don't really. I'm not saying I don't care, but I'm not the kind who would catch historical faithfulness. But I do like the idea that he goes throughout these his films of trying to capture the idea, the impact of these stories in their proper context. Like the witch. It's like, it's you imagine like a witch movie, like they're being hunted by a witch. It's more like a morality fable, 'cause that's the kind of things that are witches. They're like, it's moral panic, purity, virtue, that kind of the bitch. It's all about that. It's like it plays off like an old school kind of like urban legend for like pilgrims, And I think that and then you have the lighthouse, and lighthouse is inspired by like old like cabin fever shanties, like there's all these stories about like people in the lighthouses or on the sea, and what kind of things drive them mad, what kind of things really sort of drive them off the deep end, ocean madness, mermaid madness, that kind of thing.
right,
And then you have of course the Northman, which is like it's trying to be like Hamlet's. Well, it just brings back the Hamlet stuff to its original inspiration.
right, yeah,
Hamlet stuff. I feel like that's a great way to kind of go about this stuff, these genres, by trying to bring back a lot of what their forebears were about, what the initial inspirations were. And I think that's a really fun way to go about it. And so the historical faithfulness, and it's neither here nor there for me, but what I really enjoy is like him going like, well, how do we bring in something that has been overlooked for a long time regarding this kind of genre or this kind of monster or this kind of heroic journey? Like what do we do about that? Like what let's look back and see why those kinds of choices were made in these stories. I think it really does work. It really does work. I think it's a really good and valid way of going about this kind of thing. And when you go back to Nosferatu, I think it does a really great job again of not only bringing in more with the novel work in very very identifiable ways, but also like old school drag and the vampire myths, like like I really love the scene with the with the Romani, who and when they go vampire hunting in the middle of the night, because not only does it harken back to the original inspiration for vampires, which would were apparently or allegedly, or what people say, were people being buried alive, and so people think that like, oh, he was buried alive, but they don't think they think he was still dead. So like when they come back, when they hear tapping and like in graves, they thought, oh, it must be an undead person, like, and then that's how like vampires came about, and that's like the old folkloric reason for that. So that really reminded me of that when they're going to the cemetery with the witch hunter, with the vampire hunters, is like that's great. I love that they bring that in, they bring that kind of essence into it, and also, but
oh
that old school gothic kind of sense. I really do like it. I think it's a great amalgamation.
yeah. I suppose I like the historical accuracy in terms like as far as like I'm not gonna get all pissed off if I say no, no, that type of warrior would only have 3 rings in his nipples, not 5. Or hey, that guy is not wearing the right helmet, or this guy not. That doesn't really. But what I think there's a difference between accuracy and authenticity. Authenticity to me is like gives it a sense of verisimilitude. It gives it I like the historical accuracy because it gives the stories almost, and like I know there's a lot of effort that goes into this, but there's almost an effortless authority with the way the story is being told. It's like, this is the way it really happened. So now you just enjoy the story. Um, I did want to talk about that Romani scene. I really did like that scene, with the exception of the fact that the woman would most likely probably not be naked, as that breaks Romani uh, law, I think. And that actor, the vampire hunter actor, gorgeous man, Jordan Hedge, um, who's putting the stake through that bloated corpse in the grave. That was, I mean, he has one hell of a face. What I like about this movie, and that I liked in The Northman, is that Eggers is really good at bringing in like he's like the Coen brothers in this aspect, where like a side character or a character that appears for just a few seconds really delivers a personality with just a few moments of screen time. There was that vampire hunter played by Jordan Hodge, and the innkeeper, this big guy played by Call Du Tartar for something like some incomprehensible. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, but he comes and he's like, "Ah, oh, you bum ass Romani people." You know, G word. I'm not gonna say it. You bum ass Romani people, get out of here! I'm trying to, you know. And then he turns to Utter. And he's like, "Oh, you white boy, get out of here! You're bringing trouble to my place." And that guy had a lot of personality, and also this porter that worked at the insane asylum. I know that guy. I've seen him and I've met him. He was in what's it, the Fantastic Mr. Beast, the new movie, and I've met him before on a vacation. Uh, uh, Dunkley Clark, and he had like one scene where he comes in and he tells Dr. Severs that there's a new patient that was that was admitted into the hospital, and he has like this line delivery. He says, "Little old soul he may look, but I swear on my life I seen him on my own eyes in the Luther Christmas market. He was screaming and a growing. He killed 3 sheep with his bare hands, and he was eating them raw." And I was like, Jesus, you had like 5 seconds of screen time, but you know he really brought a personality. I think whoever's the casting agent, whoever's the casting director in this, really deserves a lot of credit. And even just like on the ship, when it cuts back to them, you see this ship captain played by Carol Dobry, who is like, he's got this beard, no mustache, and he's like working on a map. And you know exactly where this is, you know exactly who he is and what he's doing. And I'm just like, wow. The look of the side characters is just really, and you know, and the feel of the side characters is not even side characters. They're just like one-off little cameo characters that pop up, and it really gave it like a Coen Brothers vibe to it. You saw that in the Northman too, um, because yeah, there was like one like there's this guy who was like a transvestite witch, is a he witch, and he's played by Ingvar Sugdusson, who's like the Tom Hanks of Iceland, and he had like one scene, and damn did he leave an impression. And the Shield Maiden, who's played by this actress named Katie Pattinson, who like she had like 5 seconds of screen time, just like the Porter, and they're hauling up slaves from this Viking raid, and she comes in on a horse, slaughters one of the slaves, and says, "Too weak! I want strong ones, not weak ones." And you know exactly who that character is. You know exactly what she's done to get to where she is, and the type of person that she had to be to you know be who she is. And yeah, that's it's just a really good aspect of the movie. And I hope whatever he does next, there's more opportunities for those types of characters to pop in and out of the story.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and it speaks to like how I want to say like pragmatic and prudent this adaptation is, and how Nosferatu really is in that way. Like in the first one, the original Nosferatu, as I mentioned, it gets to the point of Dracula of these kinds of things. Like, oh, like it doesn't spend too much time on it. It just captures the essence of the story without sacrificing, you know, like an actual film balance, and then that carries this forward as well. And ironically, I think the one that does the worst in like capturing like the ideas and sensibilities of Dracula is the Herzog version, which because even though it uses the names, it's the only version of the film of the story that uses the names from the novel. it is, I think, its own beast. I think it is like, if Nosferatu was an original story, I think that's the kind of film it would have turned out. And so, it's a bit of give and take. And so, no, I definitely agree. It's Eggers really does have a great sensibility when it comes to like getting to the to the quick of and getting to the root of a scene. And so, even though, like, the scene of the meter, okay, on the ship, is probably one of the best chapters in the novel. It's amazing. It's an amazing chapter in the novel. um I wish it was longer. I wish it was like a full-edged thing, but like the two short beats we have of it in the movie are amazing. Like they're just fantastic, and you just you
I
know
think
exactly
too
what it is.
that they're probably going to expand on that. That's probably someplace they might expand on
Oh,
in the extended cut.
oh,
Probably.
I wouldn't mind that at all. I think it's really good. I think that, maybe there, some things that when it comes to landfall, maybe like how Nosferatu got to the castle, something like that probably would be really cool to see. Um, but, I definitely agree. And just go back to the main vampire hunter, okay, in the Romani scene, in the graveyard. I made this joke because um, what Eggers does is he kind of brings in to like a bigger fashion, the character analogs for Seward, for let's see here, for Homewood, and for Van Helsing, that even the original Nosferatu didn't really spend much time with. Like they're just there just because like they have to be. The original Nosferatu in Murnau's film doesn't really spend much time with them. So I think
I'm
Eggers
so sorry. It's been years since I've seen the book. So, what was that? What are those two names?
Homewood, Seward, Van Helsing.
Homeward Sword. Is that the Seavers? Uh,
Right, so
the Ralph Ineson
Seward is
character?
the
Oh no no. Is that the
Seward is
Harding
Seaver.
guy?
I don't
Oh,
know.
Sword is Seavers.
I,
Okay,
so Seward is the doctor. Homewood is Lucy's love interest, and Van Helsing is Van Helsing.
right.
Okay, all right. So and so I think he does, out of all the different Nosferatu, he does like the best job, like at like configuring them into the story in ways that make sense, that don't break the story, but makes use of them in the way the novel did, more or less. That you get the gist of it. And so I feel like that's a balancing act. I really appreciate about this one, because none of the other movies, the other Nosferatu versions were able to do it. Like they just kind of like, oh well, the original version didn't really care about them, so we can just drop them. Basically,
I
we can
really
just
got. There's a fair balance between. I mean, I thought Ralph Ineson. I was like, oh, cool, a little cameo for him, but he was there for quite a bit of it,
yeah,
and
that's what I like.
and I thought. And I thought Aaron Taylor Johnson. I was like, oh, okay, so he's a little psychic. But I mean,
Yeah.
he honestly, it felt like an Edgar Allan Poe, like his character. It felt like an Edgar Allan Poe story come to life, especially towards the end there. That was so gothic horror,
Hmm.
is to go to his wife's grave, and they have one little thing before he dies of madness and the plague, and it's like
Yeah.
a mixture of perversion, romance, and just sad. So, I mean, like
Yeah.
that's so gothic.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and so like I feel like he did a really
um
great job of reintegrating those characters. Now, I wanted to bring up one last thing, is that there is one like big omission that Eggers wasn't able to do, and I really wish
oh
he had.
yeah,
Yeah, he was unable to.
Quincy.
Yes, yes. Okay, all right. Yes, Quincy Morris, the infamous cowboy from the novel. So
What,
I made,
where's
so
my cowboy?
I saw, yes, yes.
Where's
Okay.
my cow?
Yeah. Okay. 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 So, and so I made a passing
where's,
joke, but
where's my Teddy Roosevelt? I mean,
okay.
come on, man.
Okay. Can you please? Okay. So I made this joke, and I'm actually going to run with it moving forward. I'm actually going to be like, yeah, no, this is legit. This is real. Um, where the vampire hunter, I'm going to just call him the Nosferatu version of Quincy. Stylish, big hat, stabs a vampire. I'm just gonna go with it from now on. Like that is the Quincy uh, of the story.
Got a
If there
horse?
were, yeah, exactly. Like if there was like a Quincy of Nosferatu, then that would very likely be it. A foreigner. Okay, he checks all the boxes. He checks all the boxes. So in my eye, the gang's all there. Okay, the gang's all there. Perfect Dracula movie. Oh, you can go ahead.
I'm sorry. I felt like it feels like there's a delay because it feels like I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry.
No problem. If there's a delay, then I do apologize.
No, no, I understand because it seemed like I really upset you, and didn't want
No,
to,
no, no, no.
you know.
I apologize for
Anyway,
that.
um, no, it's okay. It's all right. It's fine. I get it. It
No,
can.
I think the
It's
delay
all
was
good.
the problem.
Um, what what did you think of the actors?
Oh, I think this is probably the best
Hello.
actors of any Dracula film. Okay, the best performances of any Dracula movie. Bar none.
Pro-
Go ahead.
I thought that people were telling me. I've heard that people saying that Aaron Taylor Johnson got worse towards the end. To me, it was the opposite. I thought he was a little too pip pip cheerio for my taste at the beginning, and he got better. Like he just the more like of a feel I got for the character. He's very much what I like about Robert Eggers is that he doesn't wimp out when it comes to depicting people of their time because he's fairly nice for a man in his time period. He helps his friend out. He takes care of his wife while he's gone. But the minute it becomes like a little inconvenient, slightly inconvenient for him, he gets very terse. He does not like to be touched by this woman that is not his wife. There's like a scene where she like grabs his hand, he like jerks it away, like ugh. And when she starts talking shit to him, he's like, "Oh, how dare you! You will show some respect to your superior. I'm a man, a woman. Don't talk to me like that." He's a very much a man of his time. Every character is in a Robert Eggers movie. I remember watching The Northman, and there was a raid scene. And I was like, "Oh God, are they gonna do that thing like they did in Vikings, where like he's gonna bust down a door and there's this child crying in the corner and he's like shh, and then like because that would totally not happen in real life in a million. It's like no, he doesn't. He stands by and lets children die because that's what a Viking would do back then. And that's something that I like about his characters is that they're always of their time. He doesn't feel the need to shave off many of the edges of somebody of that time period. I mean, you got to make them relatable to some degree because if they're too unlikable, then you're not gonna, get any audience member to be on board with their story. But for the most part, he doesn't sand off a lot of their edges. And okay, Lily Rose Depp. Yeah, I was talking about the acting. Um, people I was also I was one of those people that was like, okay, give her a chance. Give her a chance. But yeah, I was a little hesitant because I did see The Idol. And The Idol, I thought she was okay in for a while, and then I had this Beavis and Butthead moment where I go, I think I just figured something out. Uh, this sucks really bad. Her acting got really up. I couldn't do it, and I quit that show because of like honestly, she didn't help. The Weekend really didn't help, but she didn't help either. And she was okay in Silent Night, and I thought she was good, like actively good in The King. I thought she was good in that. So I was like, okay, maybe just give her a chance. But she was damn good in this movie. I mean, she was actively great, honestly. The choices that she made, the physicality that she brought to it really did blow my mind. There is a scene towards the end of the movie, I think it's a little way halfway through the movie, where she has an argument with her husband, then she gets possessed, then they bang on this bed, and then they hold each other and they're crying. And that scene absolutely would not work unless the actors, the writing, the cinematography were all going for broke, and they all did, and it worked out great. And so, she was really surprising. I liked Ralph Innes had a bigger part than he did in The Northman, which was the cameo. Same thing with Willem Dafoe. It was pretty much a cameo in The Northman, although he had a lot more to do. And it's a shame they couldn't fit Kate Dickie in here. Is all I gotta say. But yeah, I loved that all the Eggers regulars were here, and it was a fun time. Just with the exception of Kate Dickie, but yeah, that's neither here nor there.
Right. No, I
Uh,
definitely agree.
which I
Oh,
did
go ahead.
think it was great. I thought it was great that Willem Dafoe was the thing that Van Helsing in the book does is that he somebody pointed this out to me is that he comes in halfway through the story and becomes a one man quote depository. It's great. No, go on if you wanted to say something.
No, no, no. We're talking about the acting. I want to make sure you have your turn with the acting before I I take my turn. I have my own thoughts as well about like the performances, but if you're done.
I'm done. Go on.
All right. So, I thought they're all great. Now, especially ones you've already mentioned. I've never been wowed by Lily Rose. I never thought she was a bad actress. I just thought she was very stiff, which isn't the same thing as being bad. It's just that she's very stiff. She was okay in Silent Night, but also very stiff. And she was very stiff in basically everything. Like she wasn't the worst part of Yoga Hosers. Yoga Hosers is one of the worst movies I've ever fucking seen. But she's not bad in that. Haley Rose Smith is bad in it. Lily Rose Depp is um Lily Rose Depp is very stiff. She's a stiff, and so I feel like this really let her finally kind of like shake it
What was
all
the
out.
other actress's name?
Harley Quinn Smith.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Lily Rose Smith, and I was like,
I
how
think
many
I did.
Lily Roses is in this friggin' movie?
I think I did. I think I did by accident. But yeah, I feel like this film really let her like
Oh,
kind of
okay.
shake it all out metaphorically and literally. Just kind of like really unwind. I think that she really took advantage of that. I thought she was really great. And one thing I really like about the performances and the time and the vibe of this as a whole, and made a lot more sense. When I learned that Eggers had like originally done Nosferatu as like a play, is that this has a very stage production vibe to it when it comes to the actors. Okay, it feels like these are actors like they're on stage, they're molding, they're going as far, they're being as theatric as if they're on stage after they're performing like a chamber play of some kind. And that's the vibe Lily Rose has. That's the vibe that Aaron Taylor and Johnson has. That's the vibe that Ralph Ineson has, that Willem Dafoe has. Like they're bringing a broad, like theatrical stage kind of feeling to this, and I think that it really works. And I think it does contribute to that unique kind of tone this has, where it's like kind of fairy tale, kind of fairy book kind of thing. And I like it. I really do. I enjoy it a lot. And I want to say one thing is that this is probably the only good Jonathan Harker that's ever been on fucking film. It's like the only good one. None of the, like I know again, there've been good Dracula movies, there've been good
Thank
Nosferatu
you.
movies, there've been good Nosferatu movies, but like all the Harkers suck. There've been no good Harkers because and I don't want to blame Coppola for this
They
only.
do.
I don't want to blame Coppola for this only, but he certainly didn't help, especially when you look at post Coppola Dracula adaptations. But like, you know what? Jonathan is a good guy. He's a good guy, and like people are like, oh no, he's boring. Oh no, he's too dull. Oh, he's actually evil, or like she hates him. Like that's I mean, look at all the Dracula movies. Like, oh no, but Mina, the relationship is either boring, stale, and loveless. Like, no, he's a good guy. They love each other, and I feel like Nicholas Hoult and Liam Rose Depp do like a fantastic job portraying that, bringing that vibe, bringing that emotion to Nosferatu, to Dracula that I've been missing in every damn movie that has ever been done. It's the only time it's been done, which is why this is my favorite Dracula movies because it gets the romantic quotient. Okay, and I can't believe it took so long. It's been like 200 years since that book came out. Okay, so finally, finally. You know, but other than that, I think Emma Corrin did a fun
No,
job.
absolutely.
And Aaron Taylor Johnson is probably my best performance in the movie. My favorite performance, I want to say. I don't want to say best. Favorite performance because, as I mentioned, I love how British this is, and he is like the most British dude in the world. He's like speaks like, and he said he's like he's too cheerio. No, I love it. I love that because like it's just you're smacked in the face by like, yeah, no, it's Nosferatu, it's Germany, but this is a British novel, so we're gonna get like the Britishest man who does the most British upper class twit performance of all time. I love it. I loved every second he talked. I love how much of a prick he was.
No, he did grow on me.
I did. I loved all of it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. I what I liked about okay, I can't believe that there were people saying that Thomas actually secretly hates his wife, or that they secretly hate each other. I was like, damn, they really kept that a secret then, because he travels two countries over to get a better, like, not like two countries over, but he travels like miles and miles to a secluded castle in the Carpathian Alps to help his wife get a better life. He hunts them, like he goes on a hunt with a crazy guy and to kill a vampire for his wife. He like and Ellen pretty much sacrifices her life to save him. Like, if they hated each other, they did a shit job at showing it. That's for sure. Um, there was God damn it. There was this moment that I really appreciated in this movie. I thought was very touching. And to me, I like that this movie focuses so much on Ellen, as a takes advantage of the fact that she is a somnambulist in the sleepwalker in the original story, and this uh, doctor. Back then, people believed that somnambulists had sort of like this connection to the other side, and this Doctor Aaron Ebenhard von Franz, who is like has the most metal name ever. Um, who's like obsessed with people like Henrik Cornelius Agrippa and mystic philosophy and the occult, basically the coolest shit ever to him. And he's all in for the occult, and he recognizes her as somebody who has a lot of darkness in her. Maybe she has depression. She has sexually unfulfilled, repressed. She has she sees her this moment where she recognizes that she has to sacrifice herself basically to kill this monster. And there's this moment where he turns and looks at her and says, in heathen times, you would have been a great priestess of Isis. But in these strange modern times, your purpose is of greater worth. And there's like this single tear going down her cheek. There's a lot of scenes, great scenes in this movie that get across so many great emotions. I honestly wasn't expecting to feel this much uh, pathos for a lot of these characters. But the ending, especially when Thomas comes in and he's holding his wife's hand and he's just totally shattered. And that last shot, by the way, gorgeous. Put that on like you could paint that. And there's a lot of shots in this movie actually that look like paintings, and it's just amazing. This is probably Jorn uh, Blasky's career best work, honestly. But yeah, he's just really good at bringing that emotion out of his actors, and uh, you just get two great actors into a room together and you let them have it, or three or four even. Like, this is a great ensemble cast. I mean, it has two main characters, but it's great. I thought, you're not going to believe this, but I honestly thought that Bill Skarsgård was totally unconvincing.
Well,
Hmm.
see,
Yeah,
I
every
feel.
single interview I've seen him in,
Mhm.
where he
No, go ahead.
okay, every single interview where I've seen him in talking about the preparation, talking about the the things he did with his voice, and then I saw the movie and I was like, ah, yeah, right, buddy. What happened was that Robert Eggers flew to Transylvania, exhumed the corpse of Vlad Dracul, and told him, he's like, hey, man, you want to be in a movie? That's what happened. Because I mean, okay, okay. At this point, I'm kayfabing. He was fantastic in this movie. The voice, the makeup. It's a combination of things that really brought the performance together. And I thought he was fantastic. The accent was fun. He is probably my favorite on-screen Dracula. Definitely the most accurate to the book, appearance-wise. Oh, go on. You were going to say
Oh,
something.
oh no, I was gonna just you very segued exactly to where I was gonna go. Where like yes, I would say like he's not my favorite Orlok, but like again, he is my favorite Count Dracula because like Orlok, I've always seen him more as like very simple, like a simple kind of guy. Okay, even the Herzog, even like the original Nosferatu, Shadow of the Vampire, he's like a simple guy. Like, he's a vampire who just happens to have this castle, you know. Is it his? Does he own it? Like, what's his real kind of motivation and backstory? Who knows? But in the novel and Dracula, like Dracula is like a kind of a pompous douche. Like he has that bearing against
Yeah,
him.
he is.
And then when, but then and that's it. That like this is a fantastic Dracula. Like I think Skarsgård does an amazing job. Like when you first see him, like I'm sorry, my servants have all gone away for the night. Like this is amazing. This is perfect Dracula style stuff, man. This is amazing. I was laughing. I was like, this is like I was let it wash over. Like this guy is like an upper, like an egotistical upper class kind of asshole vampire. Like oh man, this is amazing. Perfect, just perfect, man. He's got that cloying, like wannabe fake friendly, but also like haughtiness. Like he's very haughty. Like this is amazing. I love it. Amazing.
Oh yeah, there was a yeah, when he first comes to the castle. By the way, I'm gonna take a wild guess. Please answer. That you do not believe that vampires are real. Totally don't exist, right?
Yeah, I know. I don't believe it.
Okay. But if I rolled up to this dilapidated, rotting castle, all the villagers around me are saying, "Don't go in there. His darkness will consume you." And I'm like, "Yeah, right, okay, whatever." And if I go in there and the first, like the guy says, "You are late. The midnight hour has passed." I'm like, "Nah, fuck that. You're a vampire. I'm out." That's how easy it would be to turn me. The minute I heard that voice, I was just enthralled. I was like, "Oh my god!" And the vibe he it gets off like this is the first time he's had company in like 200 years, and you can tell he's like blowing up. Like he says, "Your lord, you will address me as the honor of my blood commands." And he's like, "Oh, please leave there your conveniences, you little shit." Like, he's just about to, he's just so annoyed that he has to play pleasantries with this, for lack of a better word, fucking peasant that he's trying to get with his wife. And there's a scene where like Thomas like asks him, he's like, so like when he gets what he wants out of him, he signs the marriage to the annulment, and he says, "So why do you want to live in governor manor?" And he like stands there, he's like walking away, he's like, "Oh, the covenant is signed," like, yeah, I don't know. He's just walking away. He's had enough of him, and uh, there's a thing where he's just done with pleasantries by that point. He's saying, "Yeah, why don't you stay here and rest?" And he's like, I'm feeling sick." He's like, "It is a black omen to journey in such weather." stay here. You will remain until you are well rested, because he really wants to feed on his blood and kill him. Get him out of the way. He's done. He signed off his marriage. I can just stay and kill him. And he's done with the pleasantries the minute he's just like pushes back just a little bit. I must insist that I leave. And he's like, you will obey this, my counsel. Like, in other words, I'm done entertaining this prick. I'm gonna kill him tonight. There's a lot of character in there. This dude has not had to interact with anybody for 200 years, and he is already done. It's just a great performance.
No, no, it's
A lot of
no,
characterization.
fantastic. Yeah, no, I feel like that's the clearest indication of like that no, Eggers is a fan of the novel as well. I can definitely see him, reading the novel, watching Nosferatu, and going like, well, that could have been done a little better. And that's the kind of thing where like he's bringing like his vision of what the story can be. He's not just being slavish about it. It would have been too easy to like have like a regular Nosferatu, but no, he's bringing like the nobility. He's bringing the backstory. He's changing up the wardrobe, changing up the look. It's incredible stuff.
I did see several portraits. You see coats like that of Transylvanian noblemen. This guy owns the castle. This is his castle. You see his coat of arms above the doorway. In the original Nosferatu Murnau movie, yeah, like you said, does he just like bum around this castle? Did he find this castle? Does he own it? And in the Dracula novel and in this version of the story, no, this is his shit. He's a Transylvanian nobleman. He does like uh he owns this shit. This is his house, and he is inviting this peasant in because he has to play nice for like a second because he needs to get what he wants. And there's a lot of character there. You can see just in the background of the shots, you can see tapestries hanging on the wall, old rotting tapestries that he probably found those somewhere. He's like, oh shit, I better lay something out so this dick doesn't suspect anything. And his office is full of crap that's covered in dust. And there's a scene where, like, another thing that I like about the character design is that his arms are just emaciated. You see the muscles, and his ears are chewed off into points. Those are rat bites that chew off into points. So they played around with the original look, which I thought was a pretty cute thing. Also, he has a mustache, which some people think it looks goofy. I don't. I got used to it really fast. I mean, he looks like a dead guy basically, because that's what vampires are, just dead guys. But he does have the teeth poking out from underneath the mustache, like when he's dead and in his grave, like he did in the novel. That was pretty interesting. He doesn't have long hair like he did in the novel, I don't think. No, he had like a comb over kind of thing, hairstyle that old Transylvanian noblemen had. So, I just really dig the design, and they played around with it, incorporating stuff from the novel, stuff from history, that big goofy hat with the feather plume on it. That was pretty cool. Also, that scene at the fireplace. I do also believe that if there is an extended cut, no, there is, but they'll probably extend that like a few shots because I felt like that went on a little fast when he turned his head and immediately the statue at the fireplace starts turning. I'm like, I felt like that was supposed to last a little longer. But also, I don't know if you noticed this, but that scene where Ellen tells him, "I abhor you," and he throws her to the ground. He says, "You are false," and he starts screaming and yelling at her. "You have 3 days." Basically, tells her, "You have 3 days to be DTF, or I will kill your husband. And until then, I'll make this place a living hell." And he sounded a lot like Alexander Skarsgård. Honestly, he sounded a lot like his brother. Did you get that? Yeah, I heard some Amleth in there.
Yeah, no, I feel like obviously they have similar ranges where they can go similar places. So I can definitely, I get that. Yeah, I feel like, um, he really did put a lot into it, and his brother does have also kind of more theatrical kind
No,
of
it's
way
not a
about
bad
him.
thing. I just thought it was good.
And no, it's definitely good. And yeah, no, I feel like it's just he's got a lot of bravado, and I think that that's it's a really it's a missing thing. It's like you get a lot of ones that are trying to be like, oh, trying to be like very romantic or a very kind of like sort of suave. Like you gotta go. It's very it's very sort of, as I mentioned, haughty. It's very egotistical, narcissistic. It's great stuff. It's not something you see a lot of, but it's something that you should have included
Yeah.
earlier. Yes, but no, let's see.
There's one thing you can.
Go ahead.
Hold on, you're cut. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one thing you can say about Robert Eggers is he knows how to use a Skarsgård. Um, God, I can't. I hope he works with Stellan someday. That's all I gotta say about that. Oh, please go on. Do
Again,
you have
too.
any
I mean,
thing you want to talk about?
not necessarily. Mainly because it's one of those films where it's so self-evident about itself, which is not a bad thing. It is what it is, and what it is pretty good. Like it's hard to like to really dig into like, well,
It really
on the
is.
screen, on the screen, you know, it seems redundant to get into it after the fact, because it's like all you gotta do is you just gotta see it. You got when you see it, you get it.
Yeah. I tell everybody who's saying that he's like, does Robert Eggers Nosferatu like it is exactly what it says on the tin. It is Robert Eggers doing probably the most Robert Eggers thing ever. It's like, oh, gee, I wonder if Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein is going to be good. Oh, gee, I don't know. Is it Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein?
I mean,
You
even
just got to
honestly, it might
see
not
it.
be. I'm kind of falling out of love with Del Toro. I'd probably be good. I think it's sixty
Really?
forty.
Ooh,
60.
that's nuts.
I feel like I don't know. I didn't love The Shape of Water. I thought Shape of Water was just okay because from the romantic
No, I'm I'm
aspects.
actually with you on that, but no, please go on, go on. I was
No,
I think the sound keeps delaying.
yeah, I know. My connection is really bad right now. No, I didn't was gonna say anything else other than like it was just okay. I mean,
Yeah,
I feel like the story itself was really bad.
I will no, because I did have a big problem with that story. Is that you're supposed to get me to believe that this isn't bestiality, but the thing acts like an animal.
Oh, that's I
Like
say it
and
all the time. I say it all the time. Like it's like playing with food like a dog. Like okay, yes, at the end you realize that like it's sentient and like it's a demigod, but like it's like all the time. Like she just kind of sexually assaults that fish man, right? I see it all the
right,
time.
it feels like bestiality. Even that guy says, "Oh, we were wrong because he's like a wild animal. He doesn't know any better." Then why are you trying to fuck it?
And so I feel like sometimes Del Toro doesn't really blinds himself a little bit of his films because of his ideas about like the difference between man and monster and the blurring lines of that. I think he kind of blinds him a little bit, and it does sap a little bit of the energy from a lot of his films. Not a lot of his films, more some of his more recent films. Um,
I will actually
uh,
say that Nightmare Alley is probably probably in his top, like my top three for him. I thought Nightmare Alley was great. It's like an extended Twilight Zone episode basically, or like an episode of the Alfred Hitchcock Hour. Like there's just
it
come
is
come up
good,
in
but I
this
think
at
it's
the
really
end. But I thought it
indulgent.
was great. I mean, no, it's indulgent, but I mean, like I kind of like the okay. It's just because I like the vibe. I like the story. I like the come out. So if it's one man's indulgence is another guy's, like this is a little. I mean, is another guy's treat. It's like if you don't like pumpkin pie, eating 2 slices of pumpkin pie isn't going to sound good to you. But when you like pumpkin pie, then getting 2 slices of pumpkin pie sounds like heaven. And I like noir. I like uh, the characters and the story and the vibe. So I like the circus thing. So yeah, I liked it a lot. But I can see somebody definitely going, little too much, little too much. Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, I'm sure Guillermo del Toro for me is great, but I didn't like The Shape of Water. I can see people not liking Crimson Peak, and I can definitely see people not liking Nightmare Alley all that
Oh,
much. So
Crimson
yeah,
Peak sucked. That's another thing where like he's too in love with the idea of like the line between man and monster. Because honestly, Tom Hiddleston was a monster. I'm sorry, Guillermo del Toro. Not everything has to be sympathetic. He was a horrible human being, serial killer. Okay, he's a serial killer. You don't need to care. Oh, but it's romantic and gothic. No, he's a serial killer. He's a
no,
serial
it's
killer. I'm
not.
sorry. I'm sorry. This is too woke. Okay, uh, he killed
It's too woke.
killer. Serial killer. He serial killed most of his wives, okay? Because the last one lived doesn't mean that he wasn't a serial killer. All right.
Uh,
Hey, can you hear me? Am I cutting
yeah,
in
no,
and
no, no,
out?
I'm back. Yeah, just because the last one managed to get away doesn't mean I don't think it would be romantic if I don't know. I think Ted Buddy had a victim get away. I'm not gonna feel sympathetic for him. Like if she all of a sudden is like, I kind of forgive. What are you nuts? He's a serial killer. Fuck him. Yeah, so no, I
I
get
mean,
it.
just kill him.
hmm Well, hey, thank
I'm
God he's
sorry. Like
not.
if I was the sister, I would have
Yeah.
killed his ass too.
At least he's never
Like
tried to
me,
do that.
you're not gonna blame all this on. I
Sorry, there seems to be a delay. So
think I'm cutting in. I think my connection is too bad.
uh, yeah, no, it's. I'm glad he's never tried to do it with any of his. It's more explicitly fascist characters. They're just total monsters, and they all die. And I'm like, all right, well, at least you didn't try and make me feel sorry for him. Except for maybe the closest he's ever come was in The Shape of Water, where I don't know. Just because I don't like seeing finger shit, it's like, ugh. Maybe I felt a little empathy towards that guy, but I was like, nah, fucking kill him. And then at the end, they do kill him. So no, that was good. Um, I'm glad they didn't try to humanize Orlok in this version. He really isn't humanized at all. He's pretty much a dick from beginning to end. Um, Hello, is your connection completely lost? Oh shit.
Bad.
Oh,
You
hello.
were talking about Orlok.
Yeah, I'm glad
You
they
hear me?
didn't try to humanize him too
I
much.
love. I don't want to blame Coppola. It really is. Right. Oh, but Dracula misunderstood, man. He just wants love. No, he's a horrible monster who
He
feeds
wants
incest.
ass.
And also, yeah, he wants to ask. He wants to. So, um, mm, so that's what makes me like feel so ridiculous about it. Where it's like, come on, come on. And so that's why I feel like idea like that's the only way that can do Dracula because that makes sense. He's romantic. He wants love. Like in the original Dracula novel, he doesn't give a shit. Oh, his reincarnation of his long lost. It's not a novel. He's just like this, you know, right right place, and he just finds the right victim. And I kind of like that they brought that back in some way to the movie, and people can't handle it. I think that's one of the reasons people say like, oh, but they were. But Mina, but Lily Rose Depp and Orlok were really like they're like the romantic couple in this version, or because they're trying to force to fit into the pop cultural notion that they become, you know, conditioned to see it as, and it's annoying.
Yeah, it's I I don't know where people are getting this reading. Every scene that they share, except for the last one, and really that tenderness that they share at the ending was pretty flawed. I mean, because she's just luring him in to a trap to get killed by the sunlight. There was like that scene in the bedroom, that argument. Yeah, it's like the first time that they meet each other on screen face to face, except for at the beginning, of course. But yeah, she basically says over and over again, like, I fucking hate you. She says, I abhor you. And he's like, come on, baby. We used to be something. And like, she's like, no, I was a child. You took advantage of me at a very dark part of my life, and now I'm over you. I want to be with Thomas. I want to have a happy life. I don't want to think about you ever again. And he basically strong arms her into sex. And I'm like, where's the romance that people are getting from this? Where's I don't see what people, and I kind of rolled my eyes, I'll admit, in interviews where like Robert Eggers was saying, I want to like move the vampire culturally away from things like Twilight. It was very romantic. I was like, God, that movie came out in like 2005. What are you beefing about that still about? And then I'm seeing the discourse around this movie, and I'm like, never mind. He even after watching the movie, people are still trying to turn this guy into Edward Cullen, or even, yeah, like you said, the first Dracula, not the first Dracula movie, but the Coppola Dracula, where he's like the sad, tender-hearted man. And I was like, why are we trying to make somebody that is a predator into a romance icon? That's what a predator does. He drinks blood, for God's sakes. He's a parasite. He's not good. He's not even all that charming. He's a dick, and he is entitled. He feels like he is entitled to something, and he does his best to take it. And there's no romance in that. So, yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Francis Ford Coppola's it's probably not just that. Even the first Dracula movie, he was kind of suave and debonair, and but yeah, I think Coppola really actually just the final nail on the.
Right, because it kind of put into people's heads that there is really like one outlet and one rationalization for the sexual repression theme in the novel, and it's that, oh, it's what the heart wants. It's the primal needs of the heart, but like that's not really what that is about, and it's not just the only way to have that theme or to explore that theme or to explore that theme. And like a lot of fans who need it to be a romance, they see like, oh, that's the correct way to deal or to handle sexual repression as a theme in your movie. That's the correct way, and that gets me annoyed. And so I'm glad we're done with that. This movie is the new definitive version.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like people are so rigid. Like, I mean, they get this idea of a certain story structure of how to handle a subject like sexual repression, and I mean, and they get the idea that there's only one way to handle that story, and if you go outside of that story, then we need to find a way to railroad the story that you've made into what we think that story needs to be. And it just doesn't it doesn't work for this one, man. He is a monster in this version of Dracula. Um, I like that. Yeah, he's essentially going back to the folklore aspect, is that he's not just a vampire. He was a sorcerer before he died and became a vampire. I think that was mentioned by the nuns as like he was a Sosanare, something like that, which means sorcerer. He was basically a wizard or an evil practicer of black magic. and then he dies, and he made a covenant with the devil to bring his corpse back to life, and it turns him into a vampire. I think I'm not, I've done a little bit of research, but I think that's essentially what it is, and I like them incorporating that naked version, even though she would not be naked. And she would also, this is in the original script, so it kind of annoys me that she's not riding on the horse backwards. But I don't know, maybe it just wasn't safe, or the shot didn't work, or it just looked too goofy, which I can imagine that would look pretty silly. Robert Eggers is very much a the past is a different country kind of guy, but even he is willing to admit when sometimes things look a little too silly, and maybe it's time to dial it back. Um, so I wanted to talk to you. What do you think Robert Eggers is going to do next? Because he's had he says he has like 4 or 5
Over a
scripts in
couple
the pipeline.
I think I've heard most about his medieval. I would love to see just like a medieval film, like see how he handles kind of like old school medieval fable, chivalric kind of thing. How he puts his like okay, we're like I would imagine something similar to David Lowery's The Green Knight. But who knows? He's very formalistic, so it'll be pretty interesting to see
Yeah,
how he handles that.
yeah, yeah. He has a movie script. I've heard this name floated about called The Night. Okay, so we're going back to the titles. I was like, that's good. I was a little salty, just a little tiny salty that this wasn't called The Nosferatu or The Vampire or something. It just throws my autism off. But yeah, I've heard it. I don't know where I've heard this, but this sounds interesting. Is that I've heard it described as a medieval ghost story. It might not be, that might just be hearsay, but yeah, the name of the movie is The Night, and I desperately want to see that get done. There is this bullshit rumor started by Jeff Schneider, which is how you know it's total bullshit, that he will be doing his own version of Labyrinth, which I called bullshit on that the minute I heard it. Because there's nothing in it
Yeah, I believe I've
creatively.
never substantiated.
There's nothing in it creatively
But
that seems
you
like
know
his
what?
sensibilities. No, go on.
But you know what? I could see him school kind of fairy story.
Maybe take a more
Fantasies,
legend
fey,
vibe.
folk, tricksters. Yeah, maybe. But have you ever seen a movie called The Hallow?
No, I haven't. Hang on. I think I have actually. I'm just gonna look it up. But yeah, go on.
Really good. It's like a modern kind of thing.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fey,
No,
changeling.
yeah, that Irish movie, right?
It's really fun. You should watch it.
I really got to.
What?
Yeah, no, it's on my
Sorry,
list.
my connection is really bad, so I'm not.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Hello? So I'm sorry the connection's so bad. I'm just gonna start talking about
Yeah,
the Jeff Schneider thing
and I
because,
can't. I
like,
can't hear what you're saying, so I don't want to have you.
hello, can you hear me?
Not really. So let's continue on. Go on. What you're
Shit.
gonna say?
Yeah, I'm just gonna talk about
Sure,
yeah, that Jeff Schneider
let's not
thing.
let it.
Sorry, this is frustrating to you. I'm sorry. Why don't you talk for a little bit, please?
I don't really have much to say. I don't think.
Mm, yeah. Okay. Well, since the connection's not working out too good, I think we've said about just about everything we needed to say, right?
Well, more or less. I mean, let's see if there's something you want to bring up. I mean, I wouldn't. I don't want to. Well, If you have anything you want to bring up.
Yeah, actually, I did want to say that there was. You know, when he was talking about what he wanted to do for his next project, there's like several things that I wanted to see from him. I wanted to see maybe a western, or I think maybe as modern as he would possibly be willing to go is a 1920s or 30s noir picture. But I mean, you know, he's really into the folklore and the horror kind of thing. So I mean, I don't know there's anything he could do with that. But yeah, I think he'd be more. I think the of the earliest he'd actually be willing to go is probably a cowboy movie. I mean, a western, you know.
Well, he did
But
mention that he has ideas about like a sci-fi film, but I feel like maybe. So I would like to see like what he would take with that. Again, I think that his whole shtick about like doing like genre films, but like bringing back the root inspirations for those kinds of genres is pretty cool. I like to see how that would fit with a sci-fi film. Like, what would he choose? How would he do it? Like, would it be something like Fire in the Sky? That would be really cool.
there is. It would probably be an easier task for somebody to come up with a list of degeneracies that I would not perform to see his version of Dune.
I feel like I would rather just get the 4 hour director's cut of Lynch's version. I mean, it's got to be. Come
Yeah,
on,
that's
he's
true.
still alive. He's still alive. We gotta get it, man. Guys.
From what I've heard, he is so done with that film. Like he really doesn't want to go back to. Every time somebody tries to bring it up, he's like, "I don't want to talk about that shit." That's because the producers fucking rude. Thanks, producers. Love you guys. Because you know you take some. I mean, you have gold here. You have David Lynch doing a Dune movie, and of course you got to fuck it up, and you got to sour him on it, and you got to release the half baked, half cocked load of bullshit, and you got to wait for a director's cut to fix it. I mean, the longer cut is the superior cut, of course, because it's more of David Lynch's Dune, you know. So, I mean, honestly, you could probably do it without him. Just get a good enough guy that's in vibe with his sensibilities to get the assembly cut together or something like that. But I mean, it just pisses me off. Release, if you can release an ultimate cut of Caligula, you can release the ultimate cut of Dune. Uh, but yeah, I was
100%.
yeah, I've not watched Twin Peaks because I'm scared. Because I have this feeling like this bad omen that if I watch it, David Lynch is immediately going to drop dead, and there's not going to be any more David Lynch anything anymore.
Oh, I think he's really retired because of his emphysema. So,
Yeah.
like the present.
Um, I want to talk about just for a moment. This is a couple of funny stories that I have about going to see Nosferatu because I've seen it like several times. Saw it Christmas Day. No. Christmas Eve and Christmas Day because some family thing I could not go to. Thanks to dinner because of some issues. So no Christmas dinner for me. It was totally voluntary, but I was like, I don't want to go. So I was a little down. I was like, screw it, I'm going to the movies. So I go to the movies. By the way, I live in a place where it is incredibly shocking that there is that many people packed into a theater on Christmas Eve. Excuse me, to go see a horror movie. So I was like, that's odd. But everybody was like really quiet and respectful the first showing, and the laughs came when they were supposed to. The oohs and ahs came when they were supposed to. So it was a lot of fun. And the second viewing, there was this lady, this old lady, that was in front of me, and I tried my best not to laugh, but that scene at the end where Orlok is looking out at the sunlight, the sun's coming up, and he's about to die. I heard this lady whisper, "Yeah, got your ass." So I thought that was funny. Oh shit, he's gone. Damn. Uh, well, I don't know what to do. I think hope we'll come back. But yeah, I like that. That was a pretty funny thing. And geez, I hope I'm live. Yeah, I guess I am because I can see my thing there. Anyway, just gonna wait for him to come back. Hope he does because I'm feeling pretty lonely. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, no, I
Okay,
think my connection is really bad. I think we should probably wrap it up.
okay. Yeah, I just wanted to wrap it up with this last thing. Is that the third showing? It was funny when the old lady was like, "Yeah, I got your ass." When Orlok was dying, I thought that was cute. But the last thing I want to say is that I've not experienced something like this in a theater since I went to go see Silence. There was a group of girls, 19-year-olds, teen girls. I mean, they were laughing and giggling and talking really loud and talking on their phones and all that shit right before the movie started. And I was like, oh boy, this is going to be fun. They were stone cold quiet throughout the whole movie. And at the end, they were like buzzing amongst themselves about how fucking awesome that movie was. And I was like, oh, that's nice. I like it when people discover a movie they love. I didn't experience that since I went to go see Silence, the Martin Scorsese movie, when essentially the same thing happened. And I was talking to them, and they were like, "Oh man, this guy's great. Wait, he's how old? Wait, this is the guy that made Wolf of Wall Street." So that was a fun conversation I had with people. I just like when people discover their new favorite thing, and it's something that I also like. The cinema. All right, all right. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Um, it's been a fun conversation, and I'm really glad I had this with you. So, yeah.
No worries. And again, it did great to talk about it. Get some thoughts out there. I really enjoyed the film. I'm excited to see the Blu-ray when it comes out, the extended edition. I think that might hope. I feel like the main issues were that it really didn't gel enough between the two halves of itself, between like the Nosferatu half and the Dracula half. And I feel like maybe with the director's cut comes out, the extended edition comes out. I'm not sure if it's the director's cut. I don't want to say that. I want them to. I want the director to say.
Yeah, I would like
Because
a. Yeah, I would. It really seems like it's a marketing thing for him. But he seems like pretty happy about it. Actually, he didn't like the deleted scenes had to be on the Northman Blu-ray. He would have preferred that they were stitched into the movie. But he thought it was like, well, the producers say this needed pacing, and I gotta begrudgingly agree. But I think now that his movies. I heard that Northman made a profit on the Blu-ray sales and the VOD, so that's great.
yeah.
And this one is doing really well in theaters, like better than I thought it was going to do. So I was like, holy shit. So I think this one's going to be profitable too. It's going to be good. So I think he's getting a little more wiggle room where he's like, yeah, you can release your extended cut on the Blu-ray. So that's nice.
Excited to see that. I think
So
it might fix a little bit of quibbles I had with it. Um, I feel like it might fix a little quibbles I had with it. And so if it does, it might ratchet it up a little bit more. I hope it does. And in general, and, but yeah, if you sort of let us know where we can find you, we can wrap this.
yeah, so yeah, this was a great conversation, and yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it. I just wanted to say that I do have on my letterbox a list of movies that I made called for people who love Nosferatu 2024. It's got a list of movies that inspired Nosferatu, a list of movies that took inspiration for Nosferatu. So if you like this movie, you might want to check out that list and see if there's anything else that piques your fancy. That's something that I like to do is to look up movies that inspire my new favorite movies. So that's
Well, yeah. Well, thanks, and if you can, tell us what the link is, let us know.
um, I'm probably just gonna put a link on the. I'm gonna pin it to my Twitter. I think I can do that. I'll just go ahead and do that now, actually. But yeah, it's a fun thing. I hope everybody likes it. I'm gonna have to figure out how to do it, but it's gonna be pinned to my Twitter, the top, I think. Yeah. Uh, so you got anything else you want to say, or is that about it?
Okay. Have
Hello.
a great day.
All right. Well, this has been fun.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.